Economic booms and busts have been happening for centuries, but time and time again, the person who gets hurt the most from these booms and busts are none other than the middle class. Let's go back in time a little bit. In the mid-2000s, the government made it their mission to help regular people become homeowners because it was the American dream to become wealthy. Banks helped subprime buyers get a home with 0% down. They created ninja loans and other tools to help anyone and everyone get a home and live the American dream. They said that they were helping everyone become a homeowner so regular people could become wealthy, but notice that this is an article written by a mortgage company. The problem is the system only works if home prices keep going up, kind of like a house of cards. And what ended up happening was bankers made huge profits and the middle class became homeowners, owning homes that they couldn't afford, and then the bubble burst. The consequence of the bubble bursting and the response by the government and the Fed led to a widening wealth gap. The rich got richer, the poor got poorer, and the middle class got wiped out. Why? Because when the government bails out corporations and they bail out banks and they bail out people, you pay the price. Because remember, the government doesn't create income. They generate income by taxing regular people. People like you, people like me, when we work. So when you go to work and you get paid, the government taxes your income, and that's how they generate tax dollars. And these tax dollars is how they fund their operations. But when they keep spending more money than they bring in, well, then you have to pay more. Either they're going to raise your taxes, or either they're going to cut your expenses, or they're going to make you pay the price through inflation. Because when more money gets printed, because when the Fed has to print money to fund more of the government's operations, well, then you pay the price again, now through inflation. Now your cost of living goes higher, your rent is higher, your gas is higher, your groceries are higher, your vacations are higher, your salary doesn't stretch as far, and your savings don't buy you as much. So no matter what, you end up paying the price. And now here we are in 2022, after the 2008 crash, where we saw the biggest amount of government spending in history. We saw the 2020 pandemic, which made the 2008 spending look like a drop in a bucket. Today we're in a weird situation because on one hand, we have record high inflation, and inflation disproportionately hurts the people who are financially uneducated. It disproportionately hurts the middle class, and it disproportionately hurts the poor while benefiting the people who own assets. So now, if you are a regular person, you don't own a bunch of investments, you have some cash saved up in the bank, and you're relying on your salary to survive, well now, because of this high inflation, you have almost all of your income or more of your income going to pay for your regular expenses. You're spending more money than you were before just because the cost of living has grown so much faster than your wages. So we have that happening on the inflation side, because anytime you see inflation, regardless of how much inflation there is, you see a widening divide between the haves and the have-nots. And right now, we're still seeing extremely high inflation, while at the same time, we're seeing an economic cool down. We're seeing the economy slow down. We're seeing layoffs happen. We're seeing companies go under. What does that mean? Well, that means wages on average are going down because companies don't have the ability to keep paying the same costs as they could before. So you have prices of things that keep going up while wages that can't keep up. And so the price of things keep going up quickly while now the economy is slowing down, meaning businesses have to cut costs, meaning people are losing their jobs. So what does this mean? Well, it depends who you ask. If you ask the government what this means, or you ask the Federal Reserve Bank, or you ask Jerome Powell, or you ask some big banks on Wall Street, or you ask the traditional media, they'll tell you that this means nothing. You don't have anything to worry about. The economy is doing just fine and inflation is under control, so you don't have to worry about anything going on with money. But what if they're wrong? See, there's two ways that you can go about preparing for this. If you do what the majority of people do, which is believe that nothing is going to go wrong, everything is fine, and you do nothing, and you just keep spending money like normal, that's one option. Option number two is you start preparing, meaning you put some cash aside, cut some of your expenses, you work to earn some more money, that way you have some extra cash to protect you and take advantage of opportunities that might come your way. Now, if the government and the Fed is right, no recession, inflation magically gets under control, well, in the first case scenario, you'll be just fine because you didn't change. And in the second case scenario, where you worked hard to put aside some extra cash, well, you'll also just be fine because now all you have is a big bank account that you can use to go to Disney World or invest that money. However, if the Fed and the government and the big banks on Wall Street and everybody else is wrong, and we do see a deeper recession, and we do see inflation not just magically go away, and we do see more economic pain, Well, if you just follow the first case scenario and you don't do anything, well, now you're going to be in trouble because now the economy is slowing down, it's harder to find a job, the cost of living is more difficult now because inflation is still here. And so in the first case scenario, well, now you're in trouble. But in the second case scenario, you're not in trouble, or you're in less trouble, because now you can actually take advantage of opportunities that might come your way. Because now when you see these types of slowdown in the economy and you have cash, well, now you can take advantage of opportunities. Because if stock prices fall, or if real estate prices fall, or if crypto prices fall, or if you have the ability to invest in a business at a discounted price, now you can take your cash and go out and invest in good assets at a discounted price. Now, of course, this requires you to stay up to date on what's happening in the financial world, which is one of the reasons why I created Market Briefs, which is a free financial newsletter, which if you haven't subscribed yet, I highly recommend you do. With Market Briefs, we send out a free daily report of what's happening in the financial world, from the stock market to the real estate market to crypto to inflation to the global economy. You can read it in less than 5 minutes every morning, and it's super fun. We make it entertaining, it's witty, it's easy to read. So even if you don't have a financial degree, I promise you, you're gonna love reading Market Briefs every morning, and it's completely free. So if you haven't joined Market Briefs yet, make sure you do that, and I'll put the link to how you can do it down in the description below. The reason why I'm bringing this up today is because people have been talking about the economic pain that they're feeling. They're talking about the pain that they're feeling because of inflation. They're talking about the pain that they're feeling because of this economic slowdown, and this could help drive some movement by the government and the Fed as to how they respond to this economy and this inflation problem sometime in the future. And this is where you have to understand what actions are going to make the economy or inflation worse. For example, there's already talks now of another round of potential stimulus checks. CNBC put out an article talking about how you could be potentially seeing more stimulus checks if the economy continues to slow down. Now, if you were not very familiar with inflation or how we got into this situation in the first place, inflation happens when you print more money without printing or creating more wealth. So if you have no more wealth creation, but money just gets printed, and then you inject this money into the economy, well then effectively the value of each individual dollar goes down. This is what inflation is. You are inflating the monetary supply. You're increasing the amount of dollars out there without increasing the wealth. This is what inflation is, and it makes the buying power of each individual dollar go down. So if people are worried about inflation, and inflation is causing more economic pain to you because now you can't afford the higher cost of living, and then the government starts sending out stimulus checks to help you because of this higher cost of living, well, yeah, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, you have more buying power because you got a couple $1,000s in your pocket. However, what does that do over the long term? This boosts demand without actually creating any new wealth, and now the price of everything starts to go up even more. So now you spent your $2,000 stimulus check, and now everything is even more expensive than it was before. See, anytime you have inflation, it disproportionately hurts the middle class the most, because anytime you have inflation, you see the middle class get wiped out. The people who understand money in the middle class start to change the way they do things with money, and so they start to become more wealthy, and the people that don't understand money in the middle class, well, they start to become poorer because they don't understand what to do with their money. And so inflation disproportionately hurts the people who are not financially educated, but especially the middle class. And what causes inflation? Well, when the government spends more money than they have, or when the Federal Reserve Bank keeps printing money. Well, you also have the government talking about now spending more money with new programs, and in order to fund these programs, raising taxes again. So the government still wants to spend more money as a way to boost the economy, and in order to fund that, there will be more inflation and higher taxes. Now, if we assume that the government doesn't have any malintention, that their goal is actually to help people, what happens with a lot of these programs that are designed to help people actually is that they end up hurting the people that they're designed to help in the first place. We've seen this happen time and time again. I mean, if you just look at student loans, the reason why college tuition is so expensive today is because the government said, okay, if you want to go to college, it's been difficult because some people can qualify for student loans, some people can't. So what the government we will do is we will make sure and guarantee that anybody who wants to go to college can get a student loan without any sort of requirements, without any sort of justification, and you have pretty much an empty checkbook. Well, we'll write however much money that you need in order to get your higher education. Well, colleges heard that and they said, you're telling me that we can charge you, students, whatever we want, and the government will continue to pay us? So as soon as that happened, you saw tuition rates skyrocket because colleges knew that the government would continue funding their tuition checks. There's only two ways that the government and the Federal Reserve Bank can navigate us from this economic situation right now. Either the Federal Reserve Bank and the government can say that we want to fight inflation. This is our number one concern because this inflation is leading to an economic slowdown, and then they continue their fight on inflation. If they do that, that hurts the economy, meaning more layoffs, you're going to see job cuts, you're going to see a big slowdown in the economy, and that's painful. However, the alternative is even more painful, which is the Fed and the government say, all right, we're seeing high inflation and we're seeing the economy slow down. However, this economic slowdown is not something that we can tolerate. It's not something that we want. We don't want to deal with these job losses, so we're going to inflate and we're going to stimulate. If we see this happen, where sometime in the near future, the Fed and the government start cutting interest rates, they start stimulating, they start pumping up the economy, you're going to see the economy roar again. However, you are making the bubble even bigger. You did not solve the problem, and now you're kicking the can down the road, and now this inflation problem becomes significantly bigger, and the economic problems in the future will become significantly bigger because the inflation problem didn't get solved in the first place. This is why it is so important for you to be invested in your own financial education, because we're never taught this in schools. That way now you can take care of yourself, you can take care of your family, and you can take care of your community, because when you see this type of economic craziness and this type of market craziness, it creates a lot of opportunity, and you want to be one of the people that can take advantage of the opportunity when it comes your way. But that requires two things. It requires the right education, and it requires you to be prepared. When crypto prices are high, everybody says that crypto is going to take over the world. This is the next thing, that this is the new internet, that everybody needs to adopt and use crypto. But when crypto prices are down, everybody flips and they say crypto is a scam, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's fake, it doesn't exist, it has no value. And this is where now you have to draw the line and you have to understand, what does cryptocurrency mean to you?